Welcome to Papa's Workshop. Well, today in the shop I made another sheriff's badge with the word deputy on top. Now, I've shown before, and I'm going to put a link in the video to show where I have done this before, where I could put a text on a path to be able to put that in. But more importantly, I've had a lot of questions about the keyhole slot. So I go into quite a bit of detail today on how to correctly put the keyhole slot into your project. So let's get started. Now, because I'm cutting all the way through this wood, I'm going to use the Starbond thick glue to be able to do the glue and tape method along with the accelerator. And I'll put a link in the description for a 15% discount. But this is a real easy process to do. All you have to do is just stick a piece of tape down on your work surface. I'm going to put a second one down right up here. This holds extremely well, and you really don't need a whole lot of tape. And then you're going to put a matching piece of tape onto your wood. So I'll put one piece there, then I'll put the second piece right here. And the nice thing about this, all you have to do is just run a bead of glue right along that tape. Using the accelerator, I'm going to put that on the other tape, and we're going to flip it over and stick it down. Push it down for a moment, and you're ready to go. That's done. Now then, to mount the piece of wood for the project itself, I'm going to use the same exact thing. I'm going to use the tape and the glue method. For this project today, I'm using a Select Pine, which is actually not free, and it's about as straight as you can possibly get it. So I've already marked where I want to be able to cut this. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it now and get it set up on the CNC machine. Now this is a 1x12, but actually it's 11¼ inches wide. And I'm ripping this down to also 11¼ So that's going to just give me a square piece of wood. Now to set this up, we're going to do it exactly the same way. And I'm going to look. I think this is the better side, although they're really virtually identical. So I'm going to put it down this way. That will become the back. And we'll do exactly the same thing again. Put a piece of tape down right here. Second piece of tape, go right there. And if you're ever unsure about a piece not staying, you can always add that third piece. Then we'll transfer this over and do the same thing. We have one here at the top. One in the middle. And there we go. Now again, we'll do the same thing. We're going to put the glue right along here. That's all you need. It doesn't take a lot. Put the accelerator on there. flip this over and set it right down in place. Now I can't slide it or move it. That is good. So now we'll go ahead and set up the CNC machine, put the bit in it. I'm using an 1/8 inch straight bit to be able to cut this. And I'm also going to put my center point right here in the middle, because we're going to cut out the star first and then we're going to laser it. And there we go. There is my center point. And I'll use this same point for the CNC machine to actually cut it out. And I'll use the same point for the laser itself. The bit that I'm using is an 1/8 inch straight bit. And this is 2 flutes. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that in the camera, but it has the cutting edge on this side and also on this side. So it has 2 cutting surfaces. And this actually makes for a very clean cut, and it's going to have virtually no sanding required. I want to show this. This is the little collet that goes inside of the main one from the DeWalt CNC. And the reason I want to show this is I've seen people put these in upside down. There's actually 2 sides to this. One has the long taper on this end, and then it stops here. This is the top. This is the part that goes inside of there. That's how it should go in. And then you can slip the bit into it. Now I've actually seen people put it in the opposite way. If they put it in this way, it's not going to hold, and there's a lot of play. You don't want that. So please make sure that you put this in the correct way. This slot at the bottom is what actually holds the bit. So this will slide into the collet this way. And then you're going to slide your bit in. Very, very important to do it that way. And I've seen people do it the opposite, and then they're complaining that their machine's not working correctly, bits are falling out, bits are breaking. That may be one reason why. One of the things that I like to do is actually move the router right over to my XY position to begin with and position it where I want it. This way I can bring the bit down very, very close to the surface and get it dead center on my XY position. And then now I'll go ahead and go through the rest of the checklist. To do the rest of the checklist, the first thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and raise up the Z. That brings it up 1 inch above the surface, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit carve. Now it really doesn't matter if you carve the outline first and get the star completely cut out, or if you do the laser. But for me, I like to do this part first. It goes quick, and if there is a problem, I haven't ruined the whole project. So I'm choosing to do the cutout first. I like my new setup with the drawers in place on the CNC table, because that makes a perfect stand to be able to hold the laptop. I'd also thought about adding a separate shelf, but it's really not necessary. Okay, now the cutout is completely done. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, but that does cut all the way through. So that is perfect, nothing's moved, and that's what I really like about the glue and tape method. Now I'm going to go ahead and set up the laser and move my XY 0 point right back to this spot with the laser, and I'll be able to engrave the sheriff's badge. Okay, I went ahead and removed the bit so the bit will not get into the way of the laser operating. And now I just slip on the mount. I'm going to tighten it just a little bit. And then I just slip this on. Has the magnets that hold that in place. I have a little piece of Velcro up here that hangs where I can hang the cords. I'll plug it in. So now I'm ready to be able to do the laser. So that's all set up. I've opened up the Lightburn software. So all we need to do now is get the laser running. Okay, I've turned on the laser. You can see the little fan going, so the laser is operating. Next thing, I'm just going to go ahead and open up the Lightburn software. Now I've already worked on the project, so all I have to be able to do is go to the recent projects, and I'm doing the sheriff's badge. And this time I'm putting the word deputy in it. Bring this up so you can see it. And just as a reminder, this little green dot in the center is the center of the project. Now then, this green area that you see is all going to be filled. The black you don't see at all because I'm not showing black and I'm not cutting the black. The black actually was a reference line to be able to establish this arc for a deputy. So if I turn that on, you could see that black line. And I'll put a link in the description where I have shown this before on how to do this. So I'm going to turn that off. And then I have the red, which is line only, because that is some very, very fine detail. And that is going to be able to carve the pelican, the nest, and the little baby pelicans down there that represent union, justice, and confidence. So this is going to engrave first, because this is the first item on the list. And then it'll come back and engrave the green with the fill. The first thing that I'm going to do is use my little gauge and set the Z-axis. So I'm just going to slip that right in there, and it has to be 1/8 of an inch from the bottom of this housing, and that's what I gauge this off of. So now I'll move this down until it just touches. There we go, it just touches now. So the Z-axis is set. So the next thing I want to do is set the XY axis on that center point. So the next thing that I did is jog the machine over to the left and right and up and down the XY axis until that laser dot is directly over that center point. And that gets it exactly now set for my XY 0 position. So at this point, the only thing left to do is to go ahead and start the laser. Doing this center pelican goes extremely fast. And remember, this is line only. But it only takes literally about 2 minutes to be able to engrave this, and you can see in real time exactly how fast that the laser is moving. Now I see an extra circle that I didn't recall looking at when I was working on this, so let's go over to look at the design. If I look real careful, my original line is there. So that's something I actually should have deleted. But that's actually okay, because that was the line that I referenced off of to do the offset, to be able to make that green line as a fill to create that circle where you could actually see it. I think you'll have to agree that this badge looks amazing. I really like the laser and the types of projects that I have been able to do since getting the laser. Now that the badge is finished, it's time to release it. And this, I want to show you just how good that this tape and glue method holds. I'm actually using a putty knife to be able to release that. and you can see these pieces will just come off. But you just can't grab and pull. It takes a little bit of effort. And the same with the badge. I can't just grab it with my hands and lift it up. I have to be able to get that putty knife underneath there and lift it and start to break the bond with that tape on the auxiliary wasteboard below it. Once I can get it to start lifting, then I can peel it off and get it separated from the auxiliary wasteboard. Next thing I'm going to do is just flip it over, and I have marks that were left on the wasteboard itself to be able to align this, and I do not need to secure it at this point. All I'm going to do is engrave my Papa's Workshop right there at the bottom. And literally all I have to do is just close the one file, open the other file, make sure that I have it on my XY0 point, and I can start engraving. Putting this logo on the back of the project goes very quickly, and I put this on as many of my projects as I possibly can. And this file is just one more file that's saved in the Lightburn software. Okay, I've turned over to the back side now for my sheriff's badge, and I want to be able to put the keyhole slot in it. And I went ahead and marked the center point right here to be able to locate the keyhole slot. The next thing you want to be able to do is make sure that you really hold down everything so that this does not move. The keyhole bit actually puts quite a bit of pressure on your material, and if it's not held very tight, it will move. So I have everything now secured. I have my location marked. Let me show you how we do this on the computer. Now I have mine already set, but I want to be able to show you. This is the actual keyhole slot right here. But to be able to set this up, you go over to the apps and scroll down and find the keyhole generator. And at this point, I have found that this horizontal and vertical does not work. So I only want one of them. You can leave this in the horizontal position, you can leave it in the vertical, it doesn't matter. This doesn't change. Now it may work if we change this to 2. I'm not really wanting to experiment right now. The depth of cut that I want on my bit would be 0.26 of an inch. And I want one cut that is 1 inch long, and since I'm only doing one, then that would be 0. So this is a very simple fill in the blank type of process, and then you import that in. Now since I've already got it, I'm not going to import it again. But this is a key number right here. The depth of the cut is 0.26. So back at the screen, it would come in up at this point, and I move it over to my XY0 position right here. And the way that I do that is I have that highlighted at the 0 position in the center, and then I put my coordinates in at 0 and 0. Now here's where people get into trouble and not understand what happens. You have to go over here to the cut settings. And in the cut settings, the 40 inches per minute is fine, the plunge rate is fine, whatever it is, but this is the key, the depth per pass. Typically, the depth per pass is something on the order of a 0.05, which means you would be making multiple passes. You don't want that. You want one pass that is going to be 0.26 of an inch deep. Once that's set, then you can close that out. Now this is going to go straight down here. It's going to come back over to my right, plow into the material, and then work its way across. You can see that on the simulation right here. And if I reset that, you can see it how it moves, and it comes back and back up. So let me go ahead and set the XY0 position now on the CNC machine, and let's carve it. Now you can see that the center line on the bit is right here, because what will happen is when this starts to carve, it's going to come over here a 1/2 inch, plunge down into the material, and then work its way across. Now what I'm going to do is bring this bit down further because I don't want it that high. So I think that is going to be a good spot. That's a little bit on this side of my line, but that will work. So at this point, I have my XY position set. So I'm going to go through the checklist and we're going to carve this. Now I'm going to let this run at real time. I'm not going to speed it up. I'm not going to slow it down. This is the full operation of cutting this keyhole slot. Now there's the finished keyhole. It goes very quickly. And that is a perfect slot. And the whole key to that is making sure that you have it well secured so that it does not move at all. And the other thing is, make sure that you set the depth the same for one pass, and that is it. The last question that people have is, what bit do you select? I use an 1/8 inch straight bit. That is perfectly fine and it works. There is not a keyhole bit selection. Hi everyone, thank you for watching my video today. If you like the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below and the little bell next to it so you'll be notified on the different videos that I upload. Also check out the videos over here to be able to stay up to date on the happenings in my shop. So again, thank you for watching my videos.